supernatural of human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you so much for joining me. I am joined today with Susso. How are you doing, Susso?
I am fantastic. How you doing, Shane?
Oh, pretty good. Well, I got your book, and man, I couldn't put it down. I read it. Took me about 2.5 days of just sitting there and being really absorbed in it because there were so many parallels and synchronicities with my own search and wondering what the heck is going on with this Mandela Effect. So for those who are stumbling across this, you don't know what the Mandela Effect is. Let me explain it in a way that, if you're stumbling across this and you can get into this conversation, you'll understand it. And then I'll let Susso chime in if he's got a better way of explaining it. But it's like this. You remember something being a certain way. You know it was a certain way, but now it looks different to you. It's changed in some way. Now, this can be a product. This can be, a line in a movie. This can be scriptures in the Bible. This can be statues, paintings. This can be anything. Anything you can think of can be different than you remember it. And then you look it up online or you go to see this thing and it looks as if it's always been the new way it is. And that's really, it seems like it's changed in an impossible way. And a lot of people don't notice these because you'll see a change with a product name or something like that. And you assume that it's rebranding. Nobody thinks the impossible is happening. So many of us have seen things, but you just assume they changed it. Like, why would they change it? Well, they just changed a product name. Maybe there's a lawsuit, or maybe, there's so many number of things that cross your mind as to why something changed. But when you look and see that it never existed the way you remember it existing, that there is a Mandela effect. Now, we both we share a few of the 100% items. One of them in your book that you mentioned, that it was one of your later ones you found out about, was the JFK assassination. Now, for those watching this, if you remember the JFK assassination, the footage, this is a Zapruder film, a black and white Zapruder film that was the famous, shot that they show almost annually around the time of, the anniversary of either on Kennedy's birthday, or it would be the anniversary of when he was assassinated. They'd show this footage and there would be 4 people in the car. There would be the Secret Service driver. There would be the other politician. What's his name, Susso, in the front seat?
William Greer.
The
William
driver,
Greer
the governor Connolly. Connolly is who I'm trying to think of. Connolly was right next to the driver, and then behind him on the passenger side was Kennedy, and of course to his left was his wife, Jackie Kennedy. There was 4 people in the car. If that's how you remember it being, if you look that up now, that is not how it was at all. There's 6 people in the car. The car's stretched. It's longer. Even the footage is in color, but it looks like it's always been that way. So that's probably one of the most mind-blowing examples for me, man, because I'd seen that footage so many times. I watched documentaries about it. And, and then you see it, and it's in color. You're like, did they remaster it? How did they add 2 people in the car? What's going on here? And that's probably one of the most mind-blowing ones, over like, Febreze and some of these product name changes. But man, I really enjoyed the book. So anybody chiming in, is there anything else that you can say about the Mandela Effect for those who might have just come across this? They're like, what's the Mandela Effect? What do you have to add to that, Susso?
Well, I really don't think anybody really knows what it is. I mean, I like my theories because of the experiences that I had in the book. I write about in the book. Those things, those had kind of steered me. That basically told me that this is the only thing that I'm really experiencing. My consciousness is what's experiencing everything. Everything else is just an illusion. And how else possible for something to change. I really feel like those things haven't changed. I feel like it's us that have changed, that our consciousness has shifted into another solid dimension or timeline, and we just keep shifting along, and something moved it around. And I think it's been going on naturally throughout our lives. I've looked back in my past and I'm realizing there were changes back then that I just blew off. You know, so I think it's been going on for, I think it's how we actually create motion in time. And whether something or some other power has manipulated it, I think that's very possible too. I think we're all starting to realize that there's changes because of the internet and communication. Because back in '79, when I saw McDonald's change to McDonald's, I had no way to research that. Even if I went to the library and found that it was always McDonald's and it never changed. You know, I mean, my friends, you know, that would have been it. Never even came to that.
Yeah, I think you're right. The internet has really definitely provided a way for us to begin to compare our memories. And because, yeah, that's sort of new, you know, we've only been able to do that for a couple of decades now. And that's all it took for us to start gathering up what we remember and say, well, I want to look at the old McDonald's sign. And you're like, hey, where is the old McDonald's sign? Wait, it's never been that way? I remember it being McDonald's. Where's the old photos from the 70s? And then something hits you and you're like, wait a minute, it's never been that way? I remember it being that way. So yeah, I can totally see why people say, man, it feels like I jumped into another timeline or dimension or alternate reality. That all makes a lot of sense. A couple of things that you bring out in the book, people have just recently in emails have talked to me about that they, it parallels what you were saying in the book. So I want to kind of get into that because it was sort of my first thought too. It's like, have I died? Has something happened and I died and I jumped into another timeline? Because I didn't have any specific NDEs, but I hear about a lot of people that had either a near-death experience or a close call. And you talk about one of those in your books, and I've heard you on other broadcasts talk about it. But for those new to the show, can you tell us about the that incident you had with the table in the garage?
Oh, the impalement.
Yeah,
Can
the
you hear me?
impalement. The impalement. I'm going to go ahead and kill my camera and see if that speeds things up because I want to make sure people can hear this story here. And it's kind of choppy a little bit. That might help out a little bit.
Well, this is about when I started to, right after this, I'd say about a week after this, I started to changes.
Yeah.
I was already on board. I some of the things I was like the Berenstein Bears. Okay, they didn't show 2012. Everybody's 62. I'm like, not possible. So some of the things what else was there?
I share that with you too, Susso.
I'm trying to. Oh, really?
The whole
Nice.
Berenstein things. I never even heard of it until people were making. I was like, why did people make a big deal of it? Clearly, they weren't that big of a book, or I would have heard of them. But when I read that in the book, I'm like, wait a minute, we share that because for me that was brand new. I never even heard of the books until people were discussing it. But evidently, they were huge.
Yeah, I would have been reading them. I would have been watching the cartoons, and I would have been reading them to my daughter, who has told me.
Yeah.
And now she's shifted back and forth. Not true. I've shifted back and forth into where she had different. She's on board with this. She gets it. I don't study it. But that's anyway with the impalement. That's when I started to notice some changes. The first thing I noticed a week later after I was impaled was that the heart moved. Well, that's where I impaled myself, where the heart used to be. Right here. And that's interesting. And I was, like I said, everything was coming down at the same time then with the impalement. That's when did it really start then? No, there were some
You know, I lost you, Suso. Can we try to go? Let's just try to go with just our icons and see if.
Sure. How far back you want me to go?
Just a little bit. You said with the impalement, you said things started kind of right before that. But if you started the impalement story, I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, no, I really was. I woke up at it. I woke up in my. Is that the right one? Because there's two stories early in the morning, now
Right.
this one. It was about 5 in the morning. I woke up and I saw a tiny piece of paper on the floor. OCD kicked in. I was not going to put that small piece of paper in a clean trash can.
Right.
And the trash was already out in the street, the curb. So I just got up, threw my robe on, grabbed a piece of paper, out back to go through to the street to put this piece of paper away. And I door, and the sun's just coming up. It's still kind of dark. And I opened the door, and the next things I were just all happened simultaneously. Like I took a step in the door, and I realized I could see the light from the other side of the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I take the first step, and one of the tassels got tied around my knee. My pop stiff as a board. There was a bunch of things going on, and I just went straight down, like as stiff as a board, right down on the table that was on its side.
Mm-hmm.
And that hit the point of it hit right where the heart was, and it was about, I'm going to say, a foot in the ground, but my chin hit the ground as well. Now it's pitch black. I don't see anything. I think this is key. I don't see it, so I don't believe it. I'm not going to believe I could die because I project feel anything. There was no pain whatsoever. Kind of curled up on all fours on the ground. Feels really weird. I started to push myself up. Things started going through my head because I realized I get out my back.
Mm-hmm.
That's really stand that. So whoa, this thing. Pulling myself off really strange. I didn't understand there's going to be a lot of blood. Get to a phone. Don't lose contact. Like, what's the address here? Things like that. And I'm like, I need to help. Finally, I just threw myself off of this thing, and the light couldn't see anything. I was holding onto my chest.
Mm-hmm.
I ripped my t-shirt off. I finally ripped my t-shirt off. There's a tiny little mark there, no blood at all throughout the whole room. And the glass table on was behind a big round table that I said, oh, I should put that back there the day before I was saying that, so nobody gets hurt. I never put it there. Nobody ever moved it. I asked around.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was about a week I went through in my back. The L5 went away completely. I had an L5 problem, gone. I had problems down my leg. Just pain. I mean, it wasn't anything I couldn't handle. It was just pain from having back injury. That went
Right.
away. It switched to the right leg, and that one's been easier care of. I know what to do now as far as stretching and what I have.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it was positive, except I'm about a quarter of an inch shorter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the truth too.
Okay. You cut out a little bit, so let me recap for those that might have missed it, since I already know the story. Basically, you went out to throw this piece of paper away in the garage. You didn't bother turning the light on because you could see the light under the door. You fell and you landed. There was like the leg of a table that went through where our heart used to be on the left, and you felt your chin hit the floor, so you knew that thing went right through you, and you had to sort of pull yourself off of it. Now it was all dark at this time, And so you pull yourself off of this, you get to the light and flip it on. You think you're going to maybe lose consciousness because, of course, you're probably losing lots of blood at this point. And you flip the light on, and there's no blood. You rip your shirt off. There's no injury. There's the table that you fell on was behind something where you intended to move it and had put it off and never did it, but that's where it was, and no one else. You checked with your roommates and everybody, and nobody else moved it. So it's clear, like it's, and this goes into what I was saying. I don't know, about 3 months ago, I was doing a show about miracles seem to be hidden, and it was like everything was dark, and the miracle was able to happen in the dark because, you know, like you were just saying, if you don't see it, I think you were saying just now, I cut out, but you're saying if you don't see it, then you don't believe it or whatever, you know.
I think that's big. I really do. I think that's a big thing that I didn't see it, believe that if I would have saw that thing go through me, I would have just believed I was going to die and then do whatever you do.
Right.
I just think that whole not knowing it, not being able had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally see that, man. And I brought this up. I was playing catch with my son, and I'm worried about him catching the ball and stuff. You know, he's 11, and I had thrown the ball at him, and I, for some reason, looked up at the sky, and he said the ball hit the top of his glove and was headed right at his face, and he closed his eyes, and he doesn't know why it never hit his face, you know, and I don't know why I looked away at that specific moment, but it was like a little miracle happened. You know what I mean? He said he looked behind him and the ball was behind him. Nobody got to see the magic happen. You know, it's like for some reason, well, of course he closed his eyes because if something was about to hit your face, you close your eyes, you know, and I just looked up at a chemtrail or something, you know. I don't know what it was, but we both missed it, and the little miracle was allowed to happen. And I think it's like the same thing that you're talking about here. It was dark. You felt yourself land on it. You knew it was there. And I think you said the tassel of your house coat, like, is what caused you to fall to begin with. You knew you shouldn't leave the table there. Somebody could get hurt. And it's like you switched into an alternate timeline where you had moved the table.
Agreed. Yeah. That's exactly what I figured.
Yeah, I had someone that emailed me and said that one of their parents had died or something, and they had overdosed, and I think you even had a story in the book like that where somebody had overdosed, or you know, tried to overdose, and then like 3 or 4 days in a row tried to do something. They kept waking up, and that 5 days.
Oh, now I haven't seen her probably since December, so maybe she succeeded in my timeline. I don't know.
That's wild, though, to imagine it shifting.
And I just, yeah, I can't, because she's still, you know, to me, even if she succeeds, and she's like, yeah, I don't understand why nobody's talking to me anymore. And I just, look, you're succeeding in their timelines. You know, stop doing what you're doing. There's not going to be anybody around.
Right.
It's just, you know, theory for me. That's all I'm looking at. But it just seemed like it was fitting.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's a solid theory for sure. I mean, we don't know ultimately, but it sure does make sense with a lot of things we see, you know. And I've also heard that, you know, when you can switch into a timeline where it's not really the original consciousness, you know, you talk about like the dominant consciousness. What do you call it again? Is that what you call it in the book?
Dominant consciousness. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Your dominant consciousness is where you are actually experiencing. Now, in truth, every nanosecond, your dominant consciousness is shifting to another timeline.
Right.
But everything is so, what am I trying to say here? The same. The parameters within that timeline, so close together, you're not going to notice any. You're not going to know about that blade of grass that has a tiny bit of yellow on it, and the one more yellow on it, and the one next to that has a little bit. We're not going to know that, so we're
right. Or the clouds are a tad bit different, or it's raining a tad harder, something like that that we don't notice.
One raindrop. That's all. That's all it's going to take. So everybody's like, well, I don't know about this. Not everybody, but some people say, I don't know about this infinite thing. And I get that it's a lot to, but we all believed we lived in infinite outer space.
Yeah.
For how long? You know, I mean, that was easy to take, but we can't,
Mhm.
infinite plane or, infinite timelines where we can experience anything. Well, obviously, we're not going to fly because the parameters within that dimension are so far away from us. We don't believe it. We truly don't believe it. So it's really not going to happen within parameters of this timeline.
Right.
I mean, I think the beliefs have a lot to do with it.
And I think that has a lot to do with where we go when we experience what we think of as death, but it's not. I mean, we're infinite beings, infinite multidimensional beings experiencing life, and we're what's the word for it? We're immortal. So
Yeah.
while it seems like like the person you were just talking to, it's like she thinks she keeps failing at killing herself. Maybe she's succeeding on the timeline that she left, and those people
Sure.
are stuck with the horror of what she's done. And
Hmm.
because for them she succeeded, but she lived on. She jumped into
She's
another
dead.
timeline. Yeah.
Walking around and they're not close, and she might lose her best friend, or you might lose a mate. Something big's going to change by that. I just think that's ridiculous. It's not the way out.
Yeah.
Uh, and I
Yeah,
had
it's
a
definitely
friend of mine in 2000 himself, at least his consciousness left the timeline I'm residing in.
yeah.
He and I, in the 80s and 90s, three others had many conversations about this stuff, and that said, "Look, you're really going to freak out when the arches on McDonald's changes to a color that nobody's ever seen before, and you can't even describe it. It's going
Mhm.
to be something totally different." And some people are going to say that's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s and 90s. And then I'm like, wow, I can't believe Ronnie was touching on that stuff. He seemed to know something.
Right.
Okay. He seemed to know what was going on. But when he told a movie, because a lot of people said, nah, he didn't do that. I mean, this man had guns and so much government books, stuff about the secrets and conspiracies, and he was in um, and then when he supposedly took his life, I don't know. A lot of people speculated on other things,
Like
but
you got too close
that's
to
not
some
what this is
information.
about. So
You
he
never
may
know.
have, but I don't know. To me, he left right in my timeline, and he continued on somewhere. He and I are having conversations right now about in some other timeline.
Right.
I'm sure of it.
Now, something else you brought up that I get emails or comments about is, and I even told my wife this because we go to this little Mexican food, one of those little trucks, trailer truck,
Mm-hmm.
food trucks or whatever. And it had this sign on the top of it, an open sign, and the O on it didn't light up. So we always made a joke, and we call it pen because we can't speak Spanish anyway. So we just call it, you want to go up to pen. So, so we went up there the other day, and it had a brand new sign on it. And I'm like, all right, now listen to me. I'm like, I know maybe they replaced the sign or whatever, but I want you to make note that sign is brand new right now. And if it turns back into the old one, I don't want you saying you didn't notice it being a brand new sign, because I more and more I keep hearing people talk about they'll visit something or see a sign. I think you brought one up in the book where you talked about there's this, the sign that's all the paint's all chipping off of it, and then you go by and
Mm-hmm.
they replaced it with this brand new shiny one that lights up, and then you go the next time and it was the old one again that needed painted again. So this sort of thing happens and people just don't notice. They're just not paying attention. And I get
No.
other comments the same way.
Yeah, I've noticed stuff like that a few times, and most of the time it just blown off, even by me. I mean, I don't right away go, "Ooh, was that a Mandela effect?
Right,
Ooh, did I shift my consciousness into another timeline?" It's not, not where I'm going with most of that. Usually, most of the stuff I find it's because I looked back and I
right,
thought, "Hey, wait a minute."
yeah,
You know, one of the stories I didn't the book, which I forgot dual memory. We were talking about dual memories earlier,
Mm-hmm.
bringing it up. I have a dual memory that's really unnerving. And I've talked about it before. Remember if I ever put it on any of my videos? Do you recall possibly talking about it on the Mandela Effect site back in 15?
Mm-hmm.
That Disney stuff and how the castle moved and everything. And I thought, wait a minute, I have a memory of myself, my mother, and my father. And I was probably about 15, 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on the monorail, and my dad's telling me how the monorail is going to reach all the way to the hotels and it's going to connect everything. And I'm like, great. The thing is, at 16, my mother and father were divorced, and I had a brother and sister. And us three were the only ones on the monorail.
Mm.
The biggest problem I'm having is I'm a long hair blonde female.
What? That's
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah. It's the memory's there. I have it. I've had it for a while.
See, that gets into
It
I'd seen a video where, this guy had this neighbor, and you might have saw it. There was twin neighbors, and they only know about one of the daughters now. I mean, specifically remembers two. There was like they were twins. One was like out of work and like going to school or something. I can't really remember the details, but they had specifically different lives. And he asked the one sister, "Hey, how's your sister doing?" She's like, "I don't have a sister." Now, to that family, they totally just don't know about that other twin. Now, I don't know if in this timeline, maybe she had a miscarriage and lost one of them during birth, or maybe it was never, maybe she was always just pregnant with one girl. But he says the one girl is the twin. It's the same girl. It's just she doesn't have a twin anymore. And it sounds like, this other thing you come across where it seems like when people are really close to change, it's like they change with it, or I don't know
Yes.
really how to explain it, but I noticed in the book you sort of come across that same realization. If you're close to it, it's like you got changed with it, or you're part of that new history.
Yeah.
It's
That
weird.
seems to be with a lot of things. Yeah. Um, that I always found strange, but like people in Australia, of them don't think that it's different. It's where it's always been.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I clearly remember Australia by itself, not so close to the Asian continent. But
Hmm.
you talk to people from Australia, they're like, no, this is where it's always been.
Now, is that the back to the Disneyland? Is that where you said you were at Disneyland as the blonde?
Yeah, at Disney World.
Is that the only memory you have? Is that person?
Yes,
That's
I do
wild.
not have another memory of female. I don't know what that's from. I have no idea. But
That's
the
wild.
weird, and what's even weirder about that memory for a while, and never questioned it. I just, just assumed that I must have made up. I'm like, why would it? My mother and father were divorced when I was 8. I had a brother and sister. I mean, now I was a 16-year-old girl on a monorail with my brother and sister. I mean, with my mother and father.
Right.
I've had that memory
Did
for a
you
while.
look
I
like
don't
your
know.
sister at all?
I didn't look. I didn't see him. I just know in a dress.
Right. Right.
I think my dad might have been a little bit too happy.
Right.
I was hot for a girl, boy. Let me tell you.
But that's wild
um,
because you hear about previous lives, and like maybe with the whole idea of like reincarnation, maybe we spent lives as like maybe a husband and wife was a brother and sister, or two sisters in a previous life, or a mother and a just you hear all these things, but within the same life, that's pretty wild that you have this specific memory and that you didn't even question it, like we don't really question any of our memories, like it was just that part of you.
yeah.
And
Why didn't I question it? I never. I just blew it off as something I made up as a kid, or just blew it off as a memory that I don't let go of. I had it again until all this Mandela Effect stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had way back when. I mean, I
Hmm.
didn't dwell on it. I just thought, it's something my mind made up.
Yeah.
Not in the book. It's an channel, Shane. I never that I know of.
Uh,
If I mentioned it on the 2015, I'll be surprised, but I'm
well,
not sure how I felt about that.
I do know I've had dual memories. Like someone, I've done it quite a bit on like a Moneyback 73, where like he'll say, "Okay, what do you remember?" And then in my mind, I remember two answers, and I'm like, "Well, which is it?" And then it's the two
Yeah.
answers in question. It's like, is it this way or that way? And it's like, and I think with music, a lot of times maybe the change happens. You start hearing it subconsciously the new way on the radio, maybe, or something. So when you get to it and you're like, well, I remember this way and that way. I mean, one of the ones that I play over and over again in my head that I don't hear on the radio is We Don't Get Fooled Again, or We Won't Get Fooled Again. And, it was like that song by The Who. It's like when I
What do
found
you
out
hear?
We Won't Get Fooled Again,
Yeah.
and that's the title of the song. But when you go listen to it, he never says won't. He always says don't every time. I'm like, dude, he didn't
Oh,
say.
really?
Yeah, I just found that
I
the other
got
day. I was like listening to it, and I was like, wait a minute, this is. I sing this in my head all the time when I'm, when you look in. That's my whole unbiased and on the fence thing. It's like I'm never going to jump headfirst into any belief anymore. And I saw you did that with you realized that with the flat Earth thing, and I was the same way. I went down those same roads where, like, I sort of jumped in with the flat Earth thing. I was sort of on board with it, and I thought, you know what, I'm doing the same exact thing.
right. I was so surprised at that. I really was. I'm
Yeah,
like, wait a minute. They're sitting there telling me it's flat. They're telling me it's round. I did the investigation on it, and you know
right.
what? They lied to us about something for sure.
Yeah,
The Earth is probably not a ball, but you're still not going to prove to me it's flat. I mean, I get it. I get what
right.
to me it's more of a realm, and yeah, it's probably more flat than a ball flying through infinite space. But I still don't know that, and you're still not proving it to me.
Exactly. And the thing is, that's what's cool about the flat Earth is that almost everything they use to support it is true. I mean, like NASA lied to us. It doesn't look like they ever went to the moon and stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's flat. It's like, dude, maybe it's flat, but we sure don't know. I mean, just because NASA lied, I think that's clear that they lied. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to jump on board and do exactly what we think. As a flat earther, you think the ball people are like they're just closed minded, but you don't want to turn around and do the opposite thing. You don't want to be so closed minded about it being flat if you can't really prove it either way. It's like you just got to be open minded about it. Realize that sure, NASA lied. We've been lied about to about a lot of stuff. And I think
Sure.
that's the main point of this whole thing. That's all fact. You can see that we've been lied to, but let's not become so close-minded that we jump on board with anything. And I like that's how that you ended up with that whole thing. Maybe it is flat, maybe it's round. Who knows? But clearly, the evidence leads to the fact that we've been lied to. And I'm glad you went into that in the book because it's like you become what you are judging others for becoming. And I noticed that when I kind of got on the flat Earth bandwagon. It's like, dude, I'm doing like exactly what I'm blaming other people for not being open-minded and really looking at this. We got to honestly say we don't know until we're able to fly out and look at this with our own eyes. You can't
I,
really draw that conclusion.
I've heard strong flat Earth people say that, hey, it's flat. Oh, okay. You know what? I'll say it. It's not a ball. They'll change it
Right.
to like that, but they don't like that. They want to call it flat Earth, and I get that because that it's eye striking. It's going to catch your eye.
Yeah.
You're going to if it's like, oh my God, no nuts. And believe me, that is exactly how I went into it. I was like, whoa, these people are crazy. Why would I?
Yeah.
You know, that's just how I saw it. I actually heard those flat Earth shows. The person said, "Yeah, it's flat," and then turned around and said, we know we're not on it's not a ball. We'll put it that way. Okay, they still don't know that. It could be just a bigger ball. I mean, and their numbers could all add up.
Right.
Don't know.
Well, yeah, for me, through my own studies, I can see problems with the theory, but that, with the model, I should say. But, that's just like the way the sun's shining over your head on the clouds above you, or an airplane flying over, or the top of a building, but it's gone below the horizon. There's little things like that, there was actually
last night alone, I was
Mhm.
just watching the sun go down, and there were sun rays, apparently reflecting off the clouds going in other directions.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's not what's happening. But the sun was down on the horizon, and the rays were going in all different directions. And I'm like, well, okay, how's that possible? Also telling me it's the atmosphere bouncing the rays around, and whatever. It just, when you take those rays and you line them up to where they're coming from, the sun cannot be billions of miles away.
Mm.
The other thing with the sun I've noticed is, granted, it's a high altitude here. I still see sunlight at 9:45 at night,
Right.
and it's getting sunlight at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I getting? 6 hours of darkness.
Yeah.
It just seems like there is a lot more daylight. 8 at night, and it's still light. Still, just see exactly when the sun goes down over the mountains. But for me, when I've been watching the clock, and it's still light out.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, and the second hand for me has sped up. I know other people were talking about that, and I never really got a chance to check it out. But I remember looking at second hands. I remember counting seconds down.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch a second hand. It's almost in half. It's almost sped up halfway.
Yeah, I've noticed the same
just for
thing.
me.
'Cause I used to, I used to be in the watches or whatever, and I'd always get the digital ones. And what I would do is, it would of course count up the seconds, and I would count, and I'd try to pace myself to be perfect to where when I look back at my watch, I would see it change to the next minute. And I don't know why, but whenever I was sort of stuck in a waiting room, or just had time to kill and I was bored, I would do that. And so I was able to pace those seconds out and to perfection. I mean, it doesn't take long really to get that sort of that rhythm of the speed of it. And when somebody said the time had sped up about a year ago, I'm like, what? No, it didn't. And I tried to do the pacing. Man, it was quite a bit faster. It was almost like I would say at about 52, 53 seconds of what I thought it was switching to the next minute. So we were losing about 7 seconds. Now it's changed. Yeah, somebody's saying 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. It's hard to do that now. You know what I mean? Or 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. But it's actually seemed like it's backed off a little bit too since I've first looked at it. So it seems like it's fluctuating to me.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. Fourth kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't notice it all the time either.
Yeah, me neither. But the thing, if you think about this, and I know you'll get this, is because everything is sort of connected with time. So if you think of the Schumann resonance, it's saying that the Schumann is so many, 7.8 cycles per second. Well, if the second changes and the seconds are faster, then the Schumann could stay at 7.8. And if time starts moving faster, it would appear to be staying at 7.8. You know what I'm saying? But it would really be speeding up if time itself was speeding up, because time is supposed to be this thing that you can anchor to because it's a constant, but if it's not constant, then everything that we relate to it is going to be changing with it, and we won't even see it. It's like sort of being on a train that's moving and everything's moving with you, so you don't really notice the fact that when you look out the window, everything's passing by. So the speed, everything changes with the speed. So
Well, that wouldn't be a good. That wouldn't be a bad way to put the Mandela effects and how I feel like we're shifting through time. We're on a train, timelines,
mm-hmm.
and everything's changing and moving. We stop that train, we're in that specific timeline. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The whole time thing. It's I've been sleeping less. I sleep 5 hours. That's it. I'll
Yeah.
sleep, and I don't know why. I mean, it just happens.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, one of the things with that I think you talk about is you talk about like it's our consciousness shifting around. And I feel like, if we're sort of in this overall consciousness that we're all sort of feeding off of, because when things change in the past, they're really changing the way they look in the past from us looking at it now, if that makes sense, rather than, you can't really go back in time. You say,
mhm.
oh, okay, yeah. So it's like all we ever have is looking at things from right now. So sure, we can look at the statue or that sign, like you mentioned. It looked like it was chipping paint, and then it was, it looked like a fresh new style sign, and then it went back to looking like it's chipping paint. Well, that would be impossible for somebody to, if it was chipping paint, they would have knocked it all off there if they were swapping it out in the middle of the night to just freak with people or something. But
So how important is the past
right,
changing? And we could probably, of course, we can change it. We can consciously change our own past. We can
right,
consciously shift where everything is exactly the same way it is now, but the past is different. Um, I've in the book I stated that I woke. It was 8 in the morning, and then I went back to laid my head back down, and it was 7 in the morning. I mean, got
yeah.
myself an extra hour's sleep. I mean,
Yeah, you like actually jumped in time, and we just had a caller the other day say that they lost an hour that same way. They were texting someone every few minutes, and then they just didn't do it for an hour, but they know they were texting them every few minutes, and then, so where did that hour go? And it's like you gained an hour, but time is really an illusion, isn't it?
right. Yes, I really think it's along the same lines. It's a dimension, right? Doesn't somebody say time is actually a dimension?
Yeah, the
Uh,
fourth dimension. Yeah,
yeah. So, yeah,
it's trippy
you know
stuff.
that as well. Oh yeah,
Yes.
but we can handle it.
Yeah, so the one thing that I just want to get your feedback on it is because when I think of timelines, one of the things that sort of always throw a monkey wrench into the idea for me is residue, because it seems like when you do this quantum shift, this like purposefully shifting. Say you shift into another timeline where when they made Rodin's thinker statue, they just put the fist to the chin, right, and
Mhm.
not to the forehead. I just can't wrap my head around how there's
There's
residue.
residual. That's
Yeah.
easy.
So yeah.
That's
So how
easy.
would you explain?
I got an easy answer. That's easy. I'll tell you what. I have across the street
Mm-hmm.
from the bar is a sign that was painted in the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
It is painted who his consciousness resided in a time where you spell AIN.
Mm-hmm.
I guess back then they didn't have a sheet. They're like, hey, put it here, or he drew that during his or whatever. But my answer to that is he remembered it. He wrote that down. He painted it. Was out on that wall. That video taped it. Um, is other people recalling the other drawing line. You notice, like the main, you're not going to see Captain Crunch on a box that's from the company, but you might see it from a picture somebody drew.
Right. Yeah, and that's sort of the
You
human
know, because
consciousness
that
thing.
person was in that timeline. They remembered it. They come back here. They draw Captain Crunch. Boom! There's your residual. Um, that's where I went from other people remembering another timeline that their consciousness resided.
Right, but I mean specifically, like you know, you come across these pictures. Like there's the one that's got like 18 softball students with their fist to their forehead next to Rodin's thinker statue, but the statue no longer has the fist to the forehead. So you imagine these like 8, 10-year-old kids are looking up at the statue.
I do want to hear my
Yeah, I want to hear what
explanation.
you
I
think.
mean,
Yeah, what do you think about that?
look, I'm making this up. I'm making this up. They were in a timeline where they were all on their school statue, and that's how it was. It was with it's under the chin, right?
Right,
That's where it was first. And the bus, we all died, but you know, in their timeline, they didn't die. They avoided the accident, went to the statue. It's fine, and they're all putting their hand on their chin because that's what they remember. Well, whether they looked at it, you know, I don't know. It's just a theory. It's just an idea.
right,
They all shifted at the same. That's how there might have been a shift then. I mean, it's not
right.
for everything. There are things that there's no residual for, right?
Right. It was sort of the picture evidence though, you know, because it looks like if you would have looked at the picture at a certain time, it would have matched, you know what I mean? But now you look at the picture and the people aren't matching the statue in the background. So that's sort of always my hang up with imagining jumping timelines, because I imagine that they would
Timelines
have
with the
jumped.
residual.
Yeah, but some residual
It
works,
worked.
like what you're saying. You know, like somebody's writing out a Febreze tag, and maybe they died on the way to work that day, but they didn't realize they did, and they jumped into a timeline where Febreze is different, and they write out the
Right.
price tag and spell it that totally makes sense with what you're saying. But it's just that photographic evidence, you know. But maybe that's planet. Who knows? You know, that could have been
That could
photoshopped
be
or something.
planted, and that's great. I think we need that evidence. I mean, that's showing us that hey, we're not the only ones that are crazy. These people also think it's on its chin.
Right.
You know, how come everybody thinks? But I feel the
It's
residual.
fascinating to look into, though, man.
Oh, no doubt. For me, like I said, I don't know what the Mandela effect is or what it's doing. I think it's natural. These things are messages, changes or messages wake people up. You
Yeah.
know, I think some of them also have been planted. I
Hmm.
think there may be that have figured out how to manipulate it. Uh,
Right.
a lot of the changes, you know, they may be messages. A lot of them don't seem like they would be. For instance, the yellow yield sign should be
Right.
yellow. Does
Yeah.
shouldn't be red, or as now what it looks like is it looks like it's a white yield sign with red on top of it is what it kind of it's changed for me again. Every time I see the dang yield sign, I cringe.
Yeah. Yeah, the Yale, and that's one that you're like, what could be the meaning in that? You know, I mean, can you really get a message in that? And you know, you bring up a really good point. A lot of times we lump all of these sort of things that look like they're changing in our reality under the same umbrella as the Mandela effect, but we might be looking at different things. So, like the Rainbow Mountains that look like they just popped up out of nowhere, that could be some sign of you know, us shifting into a higher vibration, the world, the earth, you know, transforming into the new earth like a lot of people are talking about. So that might not
Yeah.
be in the same category as the yield sign. You know, I mean, we're throwing it all together, but we could be seeing 4 or 5 different
Yeah, no,
phenomena, you
there's
know?
what one of my videos about 5 or 6 different things which these things should be called. You
Yeah.
got ghost cars, cars coming out of nowhere, or photoshopped. Who knows? You could put it in the category of a Mandela effect. Got timeline. It took his car,
Yeah.
you know, but maybe his car wouldn't have been there. It just came out of nowhere. What else was there? Okay, the song titles
Yeah.
changing words. That was another category. People dying. They're
Yeah.
not dying. Timeline where they didn't die yet.
Right.
Um, you know, so it's all to me. It's all coming down to our consciousness is being thrown around in different timelines, and we're noticing different things.
But you know
Products
what?
changing.
You know what
But
really blew me away is when I looked at just like the three of us, and when I think of like me, you, Dan from Scare Performance, because I was just talking to him the other day, and we all sort of, even though we all went from this trip from like New York City to Hollywood, and we sort of had different experiences on the way, we sort of came to the same conclusions, and that was that this is some kind of wake up call. We need to be grateful that we're seeing it, and it's really
Sure.
about moving more towards a loving world and stuff. And so it's like, although all of our experiences are different and some of our conclusions might be a little bit different, the ultimate conclusions seem to be the same. Like, we're all grateful that we're able to see these things happening. We all feel like I was saying, that we need to try to be more loving and unified as a people and stuff, and not divide over, things like, the flat earth or the ball earth and things like that, things that we really don't know.
I just did this video, but I had absolutely no sound. I sat down for 20 minutes and described something, and I had no sound on it. I was so mad. And it basically had to do with, okay, what if we were put here to see how we actually did live in a giant universe with billions of other beings? How would it pan out?
Yeah.
We're going to throw all yous in here and see how you do. And we ain't doing too good. Collective. As a collective, no, they're going to say, no, they're not ready. Okay. Individually, maybe. As a collective, they're just not ready.
Right.
I was thinking about this big tangent, and then I went back to absolutely no. I was like so mad. I made some really nice points in that. I was like, oh, well. And it's hard for me to put out a video now because earlier you ask people questions and they come up with, oh, what's the dares? Oh, so what?
Right, like we were talking about the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, the molecular structure of physical reality is changing, and you're saying, so what? Like we were talking about the Wizard of Oz with the whole. Now I haven't the how does Dorothy she do to get home? What is she told to do? I think would be, what is she
right? What is she told to do to get back home with her hills? What is she told to do with her hills? Can you guys chime in on that? What do you remember Dorothy being told to do with her hills to get back home?
Now, the other day by Dan told me this, and I was like totally blown away. Now, like I said, I haven't researched it. I talked to a few people at the bar, and all they do is, I don't want to click in. I don't want to say the answer yet.
Yeah, we'll give them a chance to type it in here, because that's okay. We got one click.
Pretty dark. Yeah, we're ready, but as a collective, we're probably not close. Too many people are still attached to news and the government and programmed by them.
Yeah. Yeah, Sherry's saying click 3 times.
Click. Nobody's saying what it is.
See,
or supposedly it's a tap.
Tap. Yeah, tap your hills.
Yeah. Everybody says it was click. Most people recall click. Well, supposedly now it's tap.
Okay. This was when I first heard about this. When I first heard about this, Susso, this is what kind of blew my mind about it. We went through this era where like everybody was on their home PCs and computers where you clicked your mouse, right? Then we moved into these sort of touch screen things where you started tapping things. And that's exactly what the directions were. They went from clicking like with your mouse to tapping like we do on our smartphone screens now. So I was like, that's like this parallel, even though it's completely different, it's a completely separate thing, but we've gone from clicking in our society to tapping on our screens. That's funny.
Now I got this.
Oh yeah.
I got this. This isn't going to be the original, but how many times have they messed this up? Why would they change it from click to tap?
Right.
On this. So I'm thinking I'm just going to pop this in, find out what it is.
Yeah, and then the other thing was, doesn't the Scarecrow has a gun now, man? A pistol.
Yeah.
That's just weird, man.
Which does not say "fly, my pretty fly," and but these are all things I have not researched, and I have to come out and say that, because I haven't. I mean, I've gotten burnt before One of my earlier videos, probably within 100, just getting on YouTube and going, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe it. This is what this is now," and it was wrong.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say that I shifted real quick back and forth right then and there, but that's I came out and I said, "Look, I'm sorry, I didn't research that, and I made a mistake." So I don't know.
Yeah, that was one
That
of
happens.
the
You
things.
don't want to get caught up in that.
Yeah, I try to always say that too, and that was because there's been a few like that for me too. Like I didn't a lot of the movie ones. I'm like, is that what it is? Because I didn't go look at it. I did look at Forrest Gump and saw it indeed had changed. So I'm sure of that one. But like, What Dreams May Come, and that's another one of those dual memory ones for me, Susso, man. It was like when I thought back to when somebody asked, I'm like, well, in the beginning when he's expecting his dad, it was if you build it, he will come, and then at the end of the movie when they're expecting all the people to come, then if you build it, they will come. So I remembered it being he at the beginning and then they at the end, and I still haven't gone back to watch it to see which is right, or if it only has him the whole time now, or they. What is it now? I don't even know, because for me it was always both.
Well, now it's he, and that's weird. You're the first person I heard to say it was both. I just always assumed it was they,
Mm-hmm.
and I always assumed for me, I always thought it was the black side.
You
And
always thought
Jules
it was the what?
the black side, Jackson, Dowd, the ones that threw. I thought that's what that was all about, his dad.
Oh, right.
So I thought it was about the old Black Sox coming back. They will come,
Right.
and on itself, in the movie itself, when they were saying if you build it, they will come. What I believe elves that would come and watch, pay to have the farm, whatever.
Right.
They will come.
Yeah, exactly.
So I took
Yes,
that.
I
All
don't
right, I
know.
got the.
But yeah, you do have to be careful to just and then there's flip flop. So even if you go check it out, that doesn't guarantee that by the time you say it and someone else goes and looks at it, because some of my earlier videos I'm talking about the thinker statue's hand is under his chin, but now it's not, and it looks like this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't even see it's not under his chin. He's sucking on his knuckles now, or whatever it is. So.
Is that coming through? Can you hear that?
No, I can't hear it.
Oh, that's a shame. There's no way for me to get you guys to hear this. I'm actually watching the end of Wizard of Oz.
Well, let us know the verdict on that, because I'd like to know.
She had to find it out first. Those magic slippers will take you home in 2 seconds. Toto. Whenever you wish. Now, she's gonna say, might want to move it up here. Okay, here we go. She's ready. Close your eyes and tap your heels 3 times. That's what she told her, to tap her heels. She just told her to tap her heels 3 times. And I'm telling you, I remember click. And you know what else? She's indoors here when this is going on. And I remember it being outside.
Wait, she's indoors?
Well, that's what it looks like. I don't know.
Yeah.
They might have walked.
To me, it
somewhere.
seems like it was like
Because doesn't she have?
Seems like she was outside at the end, and it was, I don't know, like
Wait a minute! Isn't she supposed to get on a balloon, a hot air balloon?
Yeah,
She doesn't go.
And then he accidentally leaves without her or something like that, and so she feels like she's stuck.
Balloon.
What?
Oh no! She just waves the wand over her head, and then there's no hot air balloon to go home. I remember hot air.
Sure. Yeah, maybe it was a little bit before that. Maybe it was before that, because I remember the guy behind the curtain. It's been years since I saw this, but in my mind, he gets on the balloon and she's supposed to go, and then Toto like unties the thing or something. It starts floating up early, and then she feels stuck. But then
Nope.
the white witch shows up to save the day, and then she does the tapping the tapping the hill thing together.
Oh, hold on. Oh yeah, okay. Maybe this is. But why do
But
I
it was
remember?
yeah, it seemed like it was outside, but the graphics were so bad back then, the special effects that
Right. We're in the balloon. Toto jumps out of the thing, and she runs off. He's the one that takes off in the balloon. All right, that I recall.
yeah.
Okay, so that's right. That's right. Take that and up this. Making up Mandela effects over here.
Yeah.
But she does tap.
Yeah. Click your heels together. Yeah, I think tap would have been because of tap dancing and tapping. You're just sort of thinking tapping isn't together; it's on the floor. You know what I mean? Like you tap your foot, it's tapping it against the ground, not against the other shoe. So I don't know. I don't know. It does seem like click, but it's not 100%er for me. I can't be
I
sure.
don't know. Okay. I mean, everybody I ask says click, and then I'll say it's actually tap, and they're like, well, "Who cares?"
Right.
That was the point. That
The
was the
point is,
point. You
yeah,
know,
the point is people see a change and yeah,
they
it's
don't
like they
care.
don't care.
That's this new timeline, I guess. I don't know. They just don't seem to care.
But I did enjoy the book. In fact, I passed my copy along to my daughter because I know she'll enjoy it, and she was already reading it. She reads really fast. She reads a lot faster than me, but she's reading it now, and really good book. And I got an extra copy here that I want to give away. It's Mind Beyond Matter: The Mandela Effect by Anthony
Decided how Santosusso. Have you
Santosusso.
decided? Have you decided how you're going to give that away?
Yeah, and it actually comes with a bumper sticker, the Mandela Effect. Here, let me turn my camera back on so I can sort of.
Show that.
Yeah, so here's the book, and it comes with this bumper sticker here. I figure what we could do is I'll just how about I take the first email I get, well maybe let me see. Should I open the phone line up?
I had a trivia question that nobody will. Anybody, the only people that'll get it are the people that actually watch me all the time. So maybe that might not be a good idea.
And
Yeah,
it
I
is a
only
signed
average about.
copy. That's cool. It is a signed
Yeah.
copy of your book here. But let people know how to, what's the best way? Because I think I put the information in the description. I've got your email down there. Because of course you can get it from Amazon if you'd like. If you've got the Kindle, you can just download it for 99 cents. But if you want a signed copy, you can, $20 get you a signed copy that covers shipping and handling in the book and everything. Is that correct, Suso?
PayPal.
Through
You
PayPal.
go through PayPal on that, or you can go to Amazon. Um, what's not on the site? Shane. I'm going to have to get your. Where are we?
Okay, so I have acsuso@hotmail.com is the email address. If you guys want to get a signed copy of it, just send $20 to that, and then make sure you put your address, who you want it
Now
signed to, right?
for 850, yeah. Will I be able to type something in this chat, or will it get booted off?
Let me see. If you're in the chat, I can make you a moderator. Have you said anything?
Oh, I am a moderator.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then
There you go. Now you can also get it at the print shop. The print shop, it's going to be 850. It comes out to 14, including shipping. Or you can go to Amazon. It'll come out to, I think it's 14 plus shipping, or 99 cents on Kindle. And like Shane said, you go to PayPal, ACSUSSO@hotmail.com. I'll sign it for you for $20 and I'll mail it out to you.
yeah, and
It'll
that's in
be a
the
little time.
description, you guys. So right under his Suso's channel, it says order the book, and then below that, it's got his Hotmail address. So if you want to get a signed copy of it, do it that way.
Right. I got three sitting at this print shop. So I keep having them mailed to me. Reaching
Oh,
more
okay.
people people. I'm reaching more people at the bar, just talking with them. They ask me, "Hey, I'll have the Mandela Effect shirt on."
All right. Let me see here.
Going away there. Yeah, I'll have one of these shirts on.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
then yeah, this I got, and I'm not promoting anything one way or the other. I got a couple shirts off of Dan. This one I got from the Mandela Effect shop. I also have Silver Dollar Saloon T-shirts that say Mandela Effect on them with the Monopoly guy on it. I sell them at the bar. And that money goes to the bar. And I got a guy around the corner that does personal shirts for me. I love the other day. I had the Statue of Liberty up on my shirt, left hand and right hand. That's the way I Mandela Effect and the island. And I asked a bunch of people what island statue, and they're all saying Ellis for the most part. I love that one.
Yeah, that's a big one, because if it was named the same thing as the statue, how could you forget that?
You're gonna remember that. Liberty Island, for me, the first time I heard about Liberty Island was on Fringe.
Oh,
TV
really? I was going to
Fringe.
go back and watch that show, because I'm like, I think they might have called it Liberty Island in there. And then I started wondering if they called it Liberty Island from the other side. Like, how
That's what it was. It was Liberty Island on the other dimension. That's the first time I heard it. And Manhattan.
It's like they knew, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I definitely. Abrams, no. What's his name? Abrams, something Abrams?
That's the same guy that did Heroes, isn't it? Yeah, something.
Very, very possibly. He's done a lot. He's done Star Trek Boots. J.J. Abrams, that's his name.
Yeah, that's right.
J.J. Abrams. I have a conversation with that guy. But I've also thought stuff about other people too. Spielberg back in the day, Lucas. I mean, something.
Yeah. Let me do it this way. Let me get here. 1 second here. I want to make sure I'm able to.
And I sat down to distract myself, and I did some of the old Star Trek movies and stuff. And I'm finding, like, I started to write stuff down. I said, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not doing. But I swear, the last Star where Rey meets Anakin meets Luke Skywalker waiting on rain. And now when you watch it now, there's no rain. I thought that was pouring rain. She's standing there. But I'm like, I saw it. Now I'm watching it on one of these shows, and I'm like, ooh, that's not the way it is.
That's pretty true.
And that's not a 100%er for me. Oh, we're going to have call-ins?
I'm going to take a call to give this book away. And then I can find out who it is. They can email me. So the first caller, first person to ring, I will email you. I will mail you this book. It comes with a bumper sticker as well. I think he showed this one. So pretty cool. I use mine as a bookmarker, because I read through it pretty quick. And then I'm going to stick it on the back. Let's see here. Can you guys read that number? But yeah, it's pretty cool. My camera doesn't do those colors any justice either, because those colors are really bright. I think I've got too many lights in here right now, but it's a nice, it's almost like it's a really bright red and a real vivid blue, but it looks washed out on there. All right.
Yeah, I thought red and blue were red and blue changes.
All right, so make sure you call that number, 781-474-2632. And let me make sure I got my ringer on here. Oh, here we go.
Well, we got a call. We got a winner.
Yeah. Who we have calling into the show?
Hello?
Are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Are you there? Are you listening to your phone or the broadcast?
Hello?
Make sure I got the sound coming through the right thing here.
Hello?
Yeah, sound's coming through the right thing.
Hello?
Nobody? Going once?
Crank Mandela call. Whoever it is got the book in another timeline. Not meant to get it in this timeline.
Right, really, that's funny. All right, let's try it again here. Okay. Welcome to the broadcast. Wait, hang on.
You got somebody.
I think. Hold on a second. I think I just can't hear him. Hang on one sec. That was sort of a last minute thing. Okay, here we go.
Hey.
Should I fill in the space with
Hey,
sound?
James,
You're
what's
not coming in. I don't think.
It's so
James.
weird. I'm like watching you and talking to you. It's that
Can't hear you,
Worsley, calling from California.
I can't hear you. I don't know if anybody else can.
One second, Susso. Okay, you're calling from California. What's your name?
Yeah, it's at Sylvia Wardsley.
Sylvia? Let me see. Okay. If you can shoot me an email with your address, I will get this mail right out to you. Do you have my email address?
Let me jot it down quick.
Okay.
Or is it on your? Is it the below part? Okay. Awesome. I'll have to do the call.
Yeah, so I don't know who you guys can hear. I'll just sit here and chat.
Okay.
Maybe you won't hear me.
Awesome. Oh my God, I won something.
Can't hear you at all, Shane.
You want something. I got to give something away. So awesome. I'll be looking for your email and I'll get it right out to you.
Okay, thank you so much. It's so sweet to give that away. It's kind of you.
Awesome.
All right, thanks, Jane.
No problem.
See you
Bye-bye.
later. Okay, bye.
All right. So, yeah, sorry, I forgot. I'm running on two different systems and she could hear me, but you guys couldn't. And then, the first person that called just got screwed out of that. Sorry. In another timeline, I remember to switch my headphones. So yeah, it was but yeah, you can get it. It's inexpensive. It's definitely worth the money. You guys, anybody experiencing
That was your
Mandela
fault?
Effect?
That first person was your fault?
Yeah, they were probably what? Hello, I can't hear. But yeah. Yeah, one of the reasons when I do my call-in show, I have to actually have I have to do it all from one machine. But when I have a guest like this, I try to split the load between two different computers. So maybe after my daughter gets done, I can maybe send my signed copy out or something. I'll probably hang on to it. I don't want to hang on to it.
Oh, hang on. I could send you another one. I will. Or they could just they can email me, or I don't know.
I can
send me
I tell you what,
on PayPal and tell me you were the mystery caller.
I tell you what,
I have 10 people telling me they were the mystery caller.
I will send you the number they called from, and if they email you and put that number in that they called me from, then
do that.
Yeah, we'll do it that way. Because I only have that number.
PayPal me with that number, and then I don't know. Just email me with that number, and I'll get you a book out.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I'll take care of Sylvia in California. She's gonna email me. So it was Transmissions Forever. Sorry, Transmissions Forever. I guess it wasn't meant to be. Okay. I guess I should have recognized the number he calls in. Okay. All right. So I guess we can wrap this up. But yeah, I really enjoyed the book. I really enjoyed the chat with you. And it was typically I get bored with stuff, and I couldn't put it down, man. It was because there were so many parallels. You know what I'm saying? So many parallels between my own journey.
Oh, that's awesome. But the
Yeah.
book itself, I mean, yeah, it does seem like I'm all over the place. We're connected. That I figured, well, why bring this story up later on
Right.
when this is the same kind of topic? So
I think it
I
flowed
figure
nicely.
most people seem to get stuck around chapter 3 and 4, right before the impalement. And I'm like, oh, you want to keep going because that's when it takes off. That's, when I don't stop.
Mm,
Start to write a second book, and I backed off on that. I'm
yeah.
actually writing Mandela Effect fictional stories.
Yeah.
That's what I'm writing. Right now I'm just doing fictional stories based on some of the events took in my life, some of the other things that I've heard about what the Mandela Effect could be, but it's fictional, made up stuff. So
Well, they're asking
I'm into it when I
out of the country. Is it the
I
Amazon
know
takes care of that? Okay.
I know I've had books already sent to England from Amazon. The problem I'm having with Amazon, the first few books that got sent out, look, it's my first book. I didn't know what I was doing. The formatting is all screwed up. When you first open up the book, I mean, Amazon don't look at it and proofread it or anything. When you first open it up, it's like table of contents is on 2 different pages. The chapters don't line up on the next page. But I've changed that since. So if you bought it on Amazon now, your book's fine. Your book's probably in the best shape it'll be in. Edited things in there took care of. Can't quite call it revised. It's not changed.
Sherry's wanting to know if your bar is near Silverthorne, Colorado.
Silverthorne. Yeah. Silverthorne. I know that. Silverthorne. Is that like Dylan? Dylan? Ask her if Dylan's next to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Frisco.
I tell you what, Sherry, why don't you and Darby email him? And they're talking about you keep books with you at the bar?
Yes, I do.
Okay. They're talking about just coming out
Yeah.
and just getting one from you at the bar.
God, you guys are in Silverthorne? No, that's too funny. That's right here.
Yeah. So that would be cool. Then you guys can chat, and I'm sure you
I've
have
had
a lot of
a
time to
couple
chat
of
there. Right?
people, as long as it's not busy. The other thing that gets me is I know people have come to the bar and sat down and have seen me on YouTube and don't say a word.
All right.
I know they don't say anything, and that bothers me because I might be running around. Somebody might have just got in my face. I might be in a mood, believe it or not. Don't be afraid to come up to me and introduce yourself. I've had a couple. I've had one lady kind of, just looking at me from afar. I would catch her eye every once in a while. Never said a word to me. At the end, when she's leaving, she walked up to me and gave me a crystal and says, "Here, I got this out of the Arkansas River. This is for you." I was like, "Wow. Well, you obviously watched I was talking about the Captain Picard's crystal." That's when that happened. I've had New Year's Eve. I had a couple come in and say, "Yeah, well, I forget where they said they were from, middle of the country somewhere." Yeah, we say hi, and they just came by, said hi, had a drink, and left. That was the end of that. That was pretty thing.
I think they said
I'm
they're
not worried
from
about that.
Greg, or let's see, Greg, Colorado. Let me scroll back up. I lost it.
I've never heard of Greg, Colorado. Must be
or is it supposed to be Craig?
I don't know a Craig.
Maybe Grange. I'm trying to find it. Grage, maybe. We are going by Grage, Colorado. Graig. Greg. I don't remember. Not sure, but if you want to get specifics, I would just email them directly. And Sherry, and she's been on the show before. So yeah, her and her daughter were on here. So yeah, if you guys are over in the area and stuff, you want to stop in and see him. I would shoot him an email, find out when he's going to be at work and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm usually Thursday, and I work at nights. Craig, Colorado. I just found Craig, Colorado.
Yeah, it could be a typo because it looked like Craig, but with a G. Let's see.
He's much more north than I am.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, correct, Colorado. They're in Louisiana, but they drive there all the time. So yeah, you guys can actually
Oh,
stop
okay. So they'd
off
be
here in
driving by.
Tulsa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys come near here anyway. Yeah, correct, Colorado. That's it. 1234. Yeah, it is 234 here. All right, so let's wrap this up, man. I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, if anybody has any more information they want to get from you, they can email you directly or check out your channel. I've also
You
has
can
his,
email me.
yeah, I have his email, or not only his email but his YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed, go check out that, and yeah, we can have you back on, or I'll be over there with you sometime. You know, we'll figure something out.
I'd like to do that. Sure. I
I
got
appreciate-
questions for you, pal.
Well, I do appreciate you coming on, man, and lots of love and light to you, brother.
Great. You too. This was fun, Shane. See you now.